welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video trying to see is this new Kat Von D eyeshadow palette worth the hype. This is kind of like the sister palette to the original Kat Von D eye contour palette, but it's like all shimmer. I don't know if you can see. So in this video we're going to be doing swatches. We're going to be talking about, is it worth the hype? Do you need this palette? If you have, I have the original right here also, right here. So do you need this palette if you already have this palette? And what are some comparisons about it? So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I want to go ahead and show you, this is the original Kat Von D palette. As you can see, it's like black. It's kind of like a really nice plastic. This is a really great, one of my favorite palettes for like neutral kind of colors. They're all matte. It's really great just like in neutrals. It's a really great travel palette because of the packaging. The shadows are on the back. And it's kind of nice too the way they have this organized, because it's like in kind of like quads. So it kind of helps you, like if you're not sure what kind of eye look you want to go for, it kind of tells you what colors go together. So that's just a little idea of what that palette looks like. Now this palette, the new palette, is called the Shade and Light Glimmer palette because they are all different varieties of shimmer finishes. And this is what it looks like. It's got the same thing going where it's got the quads, so it helps you out, and it's got the names on the back. This one has the names on the back on white, and this one had gold. I kind of like the white. It stands out a little bit better, but that obviously has nothing to do with the shadows and stuff like that. I'm going to show you some swatches coming up on what the quality of the shadows are. But I will say, like, there's some that are like almost matte, like this one is just like kind of just like a sheen almost, maybe like a pearly sheen. I will say if you don't have like a lot of matte shadows, or if you don't already have this shadow palette right here, then this alone I don't think you could completely create a look with, depending on your taste. I know me personally, I don't like shimmer shades in my crease, and so that's where this kind of comes in, where it's like, well, as you can see, kind of all of these shades are shimmer, so like you could kind of use these top shades because they're not full shimmers, but you're not going to be able to build up like a lot of depth with it because without having to dip into the shimmers. Now if you already have like maybe some single shadows, or you have a really great eyeshadow palette already that has a lot of matte shades in it where you could like coincide with this palette, or specifically if you already have this palette, I feel like they go perfect together. Do you need this palette? Obviously we don't really need any palettes, but I feel like they go perfect together. I'm actually going to be doing a tutorial. It's actually this makeup look I have right now using both these palettes, and they work beautifully together. I will say, if any of y'all have the original Shade and Light palette, y'all know that the consistency of these shadows are beautiful. They're buttery, they're pigmented, you don't need a lot of it, they're super blendable, and that does not change with this palette. These shadows are beautiful as well. These shadows in this newer palette are beautiful as well, and they're very blendable. And it was actually kind of nice because the only way I've really tested out the Kat Von D shadows before is from this original palette, and so I didn't really know what to expect, like how her shimmer shades were gonna be. Like some shimmer shades like are just not very pigmented, or they're very like chunky glitter, and they don't really have a lot of color to them. Whereas this, I do feel like she did a great job on them. They're very, I'll do just a couple little swatches so you can get an idea. There are two shades right here. So I just feel like the pigmentation and everything is very comparable to the original palette. I love the shimmer shades. I've always been a big fan of shimmer shades. I love them on my lid. Every once in a while I like to put them on my brow bone. They're just really beautiful. I feel like they go really great together, these two palettes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a picture of the swatches side by side. I'm going to, just for comparison, I'm going to show you the original palette, and then I'm going to show you this new palette, the swatches right next to it. So I'm going to show you those, and then we'll get back to this video. Okay, now that you've seen the swatches, I think you can tell that it's very beautiful, and there's a really great variety of different colors. And there's also a variety of different shimmers. For example, some of them you might notice are more like satin finishes, some of them you might notice are more like true shimmers, and some of them are almost like glitter, like pressed pigments. So I think that's very cool. There was only a couple of shades that I thought were a little off. I think maybe this rose gold shade had a little bit more fallout than some of the rest, but overall I thought the pigmentation and everything was great. I can't really say anything much about blendability. There was a couple shades, more of the satin shades, that I noticed were very blendable, but obviously the glitter shades are more on my lid, so I didn't really blend those much, so I can't really contest that much. But overall, I love this palette a lot. Now, my recommendation for this palette, if you do not have any palettes, like this is your first eyeshadow palette, or you're not a big fan of shimmer shades, or you like bolder colors or anything like that, then this palette is not for you. However though, if you have like maybe the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette that has a lot of neutral brown shades, or you have this shade, this palette, obviously the original Kat Von D palette, then I feel like this is a great kind of palette that goes hand in hand, like just the yin to the yang palette. I feel like this is really great for that. I don't feel like it's a really great palette for a standalone. I feel like it's a great palette that goes really great with other palettes or other maybe like single shadows. Like if you have a lot of like neutral or like black and stuff like that, matte shades like from Makeup Geek or something like that, then this will go along great with it. I also feel like if you're traveling, if you have the other palette and you decide to get this one, this would be like pretty much all you need, because you could come up with some really like natural looks, you could come up with some really nice bold looks, some smoky looks like I have on right now. So I feel like if you have the other palette, don't think that you don't need the other ones, because the shimmer shades go along so perfect with it. But also, like I said before over and over again, it's not a great palette on its own because it's all shimmer. I really wish, I think they kind of did this almost on purpose, because that's all matte, this is all shimmer. You're obviously going to want both of them together. I kind of would have liked it a little bit more if the original palette maybe had some shimmers in it more. I think there's a couple shades in here that are almost kind of satin, but not really. I think it would have been a little bit smarter on this palette maybe to include some of the neutral matte shades from the previous palette, or even introduce some new shades and then include glitters also. For instance, like how it's in quads, I think it would have been cool to include like maybe a satin shade up here, and then like a couple matte, like a transition shade or a crease shade, and then a good metallic lid shade rather than all metallic. I just think that that's the only thing that I would change about that. But the quality of these and the different varieties is really awesome, and I think they go really great with other things, just not by themselves. So overall, that's my rating on that. I think it's a great palette, it's great pigmentation, and the couple shades that I did blend out, like in my crease, those more satin shades, were very blendable. So overall, that's my rating on it. I really love it, and I love them together. So I hope y'all pick up this palette, and I would agree that it is worth the hype. Thank y'all so much for watching. Bye.